Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Tube. Today, we are joined again by a wonderful guest. You'll recognize her face, Eliana, mummy of beautiful Luke, and of course, Leah as well. We are going to be talking about routines, schedules, and how we balance life with a tubie. I think it's a really nice way to finish off this year of Beyond the Tube. Eliana was our very first guest, episode 2 of Beyond the Tube at the beginning of this year. And she's joining us for the very last episode before we have a small break and come back to you happy and healthy, hopefully, in 2026. So welcome, Eliana. Thanks for joining us again. I'm so stoked you could join us because I have learnt so much of what to do with Ezra from following you on Instagram and seeing your stories and your practical tips, which when I didn't know what I was doing or I didn't understand something, I felt like your Instagram was like a Bible. I'm so appreciative. I know I'm not the only one who feels that way. I know you've got a really good following. And I just feel that as you've lived the journey now for such a long time, your advice is practical, it's real, and that at the heart is what we're all about on Beyond the Tube.
Thank you. And I appreciate that so much because I do often get messages from new mums saying the same things. I'd love to offer my help because I was once at the beginning and now here I am four and a bit years later. I know it was a really scary place to be in at the start. I just like to be able to offer a bit of help. And it first started out just little way of venting. I made like some good friends online and then it ended up into what it is now. But I really like to do it to help other parents who are just starting out.
It definitely does that. I'm so thankful that I found your Instagram page. Definitely helped. It partly inspired me to take this step and start the podcast and seen on what you've done to try and get more people who are like you to talk about what they've learned along the way and put it all in one place. So when people are starting their journey or continuing on their journey, they can go somewhere and find the information. Because as we both know, not a lot out there. So if we can build a bit of an information pool, I think we're just going to make things so much easier for everybody. And on that, I would love to know when Luke's tube feeding journey begun, how did you approach that? How did you find feeding schedules and stuff? Obviously, when we have a new baby, we all sort of go on that journey of starting feeding schedules and feeding them, but you add a tube in and that just changes things big time. And Luke was your second baby, so you were obviously, you had a comparison, right? Like you could look back at that and be like, well, this is what I did with Leah, but now I can't do that with Luke because of his tube. Everything obviously changed. So what does that look like?
Oh yeah, look, I had Leah and then I had Luke and everything I knew straight out the window. So it did not matter, didn't apply at all.
Mm.
So just to remind you, I think we spoke about it in the other episode too, but we didn't know that Luke was going to have any troubles. And so literally as soon as he was born, instant problems. He couldn't breathe.
Yeah, very
Nobody could
scary.
tell us what was going on. They couldn't give us any answers. So we had no idea. He was transferred straight over to ICU, and it was day 2 that they actually put his NG in, which we tried to breastfeed and give him a bottle as you do when they're very first born, but he was just so unwell that it was just not going to happen. So they put the NG in day 2. But amongst that, there was so much else going on. You know, we had this baby who was desaturating, his airway was blocking, he was floppy, they were picking all these things that weren't right with him. I didn't even think about feeding. He was in ICU as well. I was like, not, we've
Mm.
got bigger fish to fry, just as long as you're feeding him. Because there were days we were waiting for MRIs, and even though he was in ICU, he was still on the wait list. You know, there was emergencies coming in. There was, I think, 1 MRI machine across 3 different hospitals,
Wow.
and they couldn't feed him to go into the MRI. So there were days and we're like, "Enough, enough, stop waiting. You have to feed this baby."
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't really remember what the schedule was. I handed it over to the nurses while I dealt with all these other people, specialists, and trying to work out why my kid is struggling to be alive.
Yeah.
Feeding wasn't a problem. It wasn't
Yeah.
my problem at the
It was
time.
so far down the list too of
I
priorities.
as long as he was being fed, I just handed that part over to them and let them deal with it. I was pumping. That was my one little contribution that I felt I could actually do. So I would just go home, take my stash, and hand it to them, and I was like, "There you go."
Love
And
you. In all that stress, you still managed to do that. Good on you.
it was hard.
Oh, I can only imagine.
I struggled with breastfeeding with Leo. It didn't last very long at all. It was very difficult. When your baby's in ICU, you're hooked up, you can barely even touch them. I was like,
Mm.
may as well do something while I sit here.
And look, all the good stuff you could give him at that point, right?
Well, exactly. He was in hospital for the first month. So after that first month, I did stop. Because I've got to take home feeding stuff, feeding equipment, CPAP equipment. I'm not taking it home. I'm not doing that. I'm not cleaning that, as well as getting my head
No.
on this medically complex baby who's struggling to be alive. We were in ICU for 2 weeks and then on the ward for another 2 weeks. The nurses were the ones who were running everything pretty much. And when we started to get the idea that we were going to go home, then they started to teach me and show me how to do it. We had a dietitian come in and say, "This is how much you need to give him and follow this routine." And I was just like, "Yep, tell me what to do, and I will copy and repeat and do that at home and do as I'm told."
Did you just take notes or did you like record them on your phone? Like how did you learn or do you just remember it?
When they were teaching me how to do
Yeah,
things, yeah, we filmed it. We filmed it.
great idea.
We just filmed it and then followed that, looked back at that at home. And the nurses are really great. Like they didn't mind that, like we asked them, of course.
Yeah.
They didn't mind at all that I filmed so that I could go back and reference that. I think even one of the nurses held the camera and she was zooming in and going, "This is where's this?"
Oh,
Like
bless.
they were
That's good.
really, yeah, really helpful. Then we were sent home and I was given the schedule and I just followed that and I just did as I was told.
When Luke transitioned, and I don't know if everyone out there is aware of this, so this may be new information to everybody else, but Luke transitioned after 16 months on the NG tube to a G tube, and he's got a Mickey button as well, just like Ezra. We were just talking about the transition between the two, and that pretty much nothing changed for Luke, right? Everything sort of stayed the same, the schedule remained the same, he was fed the same sort of stuff, everything kind of carried on.
Yeah, yeah, it did. Like, what it look as they grow over time, of course, their feeding schedule changes.
We did just continue on with the feeding routine of what we were up to at that point. One thing that always stuck with me is when we saw the surgeon to discuss the surgery for a G tube, he said to me, "It's the same thing, it's just different plumbing." I like that because it's
Yeah.
true. It's still going the same way into the stomach. It's just
Yep.
through the nose, it's through the stomach directly. We didn't have to change anything because we were going through the G tube. Great thing about the G tube is about 6 months later, we then were able to do the blended diet. So once we introduced that, then routines changed a little bit, but we still had the feeding schedule that we followed, just added that into the mix of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. A typical day for you guys, what does that look like in terms of balancing school drop off and preschool and appointments? I feel like our lives are dominated by appointments. How do you go with being flexible? Are you flexible with your timings? Do you keep quite a tight schedule? What does that look like?
Yeah, look, I do. I'm strict that he has to have his feed. Flexible in the timing that we have and whether or not I switch between formula or blends. My plan is
It doesn't always go that way.
in the morning, he'll have a 200 ml blend for breakfast. We've got school drop off. We need to be out the door at a certain time.
Hmm.
But with blends or with any feed, particularly in the morning because he's been laying down all night and if he's been congested, if I give that to him too quickly or faster than what he would normally have it, guarantee he'll vomit.
Yep.
Clean that up,
Yeah.
move him on. It's just, it can't happen.
No,
No.
no. I laugh because I resonate with what you're saying.
It's a disaster. When you're trying to get out the door, I can't have him vomiting. And of course, I don't want him to either. So if he's up, happy, because the other thing too, if I have to wake him, he's
Mm.
cranky. And then I've got 4-year-old big emotions to deal with while trying to feed him. Mornings are a little bit stressful, but I'll aim to do the blend.
Hmm.
If we're running a bit behind, if it's not working out, I will switch over to a formula. Depending on what we're doing, that will just come along with us in the car. That's one of the reasons why we still do formula because it's easy to fall back on.
Hmm.
And I have that as an option, but that is the morning chaos trying to get out.
Yeah.
For the time, it goes pretty well, but it can be a little bit full on and a little bit stressful. We drop Leah off at school, and we're usually off to wherever it is else that we go.
Yeah.
He will have a 200 ml formula feed at 10:30 in the morning or thereabouts. At about 1:30, he'll have another 200 ml formula feed. Somewhere in the afternoon, he'll have about 100 mils of yogurt through the tube. That's the one that I am flexible on, because if the other feeds fall behind in time because of whatever's happened in the day, I I will ditch that one because it ends up being too close to his dinner blend, which is another 200 mils,
Yeah.
about 6 o'clock. I've noticed if I give him that 100 mils of yogurt and then not long later, the dinner blend, he'll vomit dinner. It's really a bit of a balance in what we're doing. But the good thing lately, he is eating more orally. So I feel like I have room for movement with that 100 mils of yogurt. Whereas before, where he wasn't eating as much, I felt there was a lot of pressure because that was all the calories that he was getting. He's doing better, so it's taking the pressure off in that regard.
Mhm.
Also does have in the afternoon 120 mils of just water.
Do you do that all the time, or just now that we're coming into the warmer season, is it just then or always?
No, I always do that. Depending on what we're doing though, especially in summer, if it is hot, and we've just been away over in Europe where it was quite, I would just give him an extra 50 mils in the morning or
Mhm.
whatever, depending on what we were doing or where we were. If I'm thirsty, if I'm encouraging Leah to drink more, I'm going to do the same for him too.
I agree. I think the lips are a really good sign of how things going, and extra hydration to sort of top them up. Yeah, great tip. Do you use like any kind of trackers, or do you set alarms to keep you on track, or you just go, it's 10:30, it's feed time now, I need to just get on with it?
Yeah, it's all in my head.
Yeah. Yeah. And in those early days, did you used to set alarms or?
Yeah, in the very newborn days, especially when I had to wake up during the nighttime,
Yeah, of course.
to feed him. Yeah, I definitely did back then because feeds were a lot more frequent, like every 3 hours, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, is it time again?" Back then, yes. Now I feel like it's a bit more routine. I'm like, "Yep, feed time."
Yeah, yeah, I agree. We're the same. I used to set alarms and be very regimented, but now I just kind of know. I
Yeah.
think it's funny that preschool is now the same, and they're like, "We need to feed him." Like, we fed him at this time, and I'm like, "It's great. That's so good that you guys are like so on track with it as well. It's brilliant." What would you say are your three most practical tips that you would share with a new to be parent who is starting on this journey?
Follow your team's advice, listen to what they're saying, but you have a choice as well, and um you have a say in how it goes.
Yes.
I didn't really have that, mindset. Because Luke was so complex and I was so out of my depth, I had no idea.
Yeah, sit there and nod. Yeah.
Tell me what to do, I will go and I will do it. And
Mhm.
then one of the therapists actually said to me, like she set out the routine and she's like, "So is this okay with you?" And I was like, "What?" I was like, yeah." She's like, like, if it doesn't work, you can tell me and we can work around it." And I was like, "Oh, I have a say." I was like, I
So good.
was just kind of doing as I was told. And then as soon as she said that, you know what? I kind of do. You do have a bit more of a say. And there's been times where we've gone along and we've done things and I haven't liked the way that it's been and it has been harder and it didn't work as well with our families. And I just said to them, "Hey, can we change this?" There is flexibility with different therapists and specialists. A lot of the time from my experience, I've noticed that my child was just a number on a piece of paper. And it's so easy to sit there and type it all out and say, "This is the plan. This is great. This is going to be fantastic." But you're the one that has to take it home. And depending on what your situation is, you've got a family at home, you've got like for example, my daughter's at school, so we've got
Yeah.
school appointments, therapies, life to just attend to. So it may look pretty on paper, but it doesn't always necessarily going to look pretty. I didn't realize that I really had a voice to stand up and say, "That's not working." That would be my advice, is definitely listen to what
Yes.
the advice is don't just ignore, go and do your own thing. I do believe you need to be educated in what you're doing,
Yeah, yeah.
but just understand that there is a bit of flexibility and there is room for movement. You just have to work around and find a plan with your team that will work, that you can take home. My other advice as well is just to be flexible and to be patient. From our experience, and I know lots of other Tubie mums and dads have been through the same thing, it's a really long, slow process.
Yep.
Depending on your child's circumstances, of course. Some families come in, they have a tube for a couple of months and then it's gone and they move on. In our case, it is a really long, slow process. It's 3 steps forward, 5 million back.
Mm-hmm.
Be patient as best you can and be kind to yourself. It is really hard.
Yes.
It is hard.
Yes, it is. Can you see these bags under my eyes?
It's
This
not
is called medically complex child.
exactly. Exactly. Be kind to yourself, be patient, but also be prepared for change. If we're talking about having a baby with a feeding tube, as they grow and they develop, their feeding needs change, just like any other kid would as well.
Yeah.
You may settle into a routine and go, oh, finally got this one sorted. This feels really good. And then their needs change. Then that will have to be modified and changed as they go. I always remember whenever we would get a new feeding routine, I was like, oh, I hate it. We just got ourselves settled. I
Yeah.
felt really good in that way. Now I've got to do it this way. And I don't want to do it that way. It always felt really overwhelming and I would always get stressed out
Mhm.
going a new routine. And then you do it, you get on with it and you're like, oh, you know what? This actually isn't that bad. And you
Yeah.
settle. Life settles.
Yes.
They do change. And then you can have other things like surgeries that will throw things out and sicknesses. I know if Luke gets sick, his whole entire feeding schedule has to change completely until
Yeah.
he's again. There will always be changes along the way.
Absolutely. I agree with all of those things. The only thing I think I would add as something practical for families, and something I read a lot of in the, very few groups that are out there around tube feeding is about family hesitation or pushback from family. Often it's not in the direct family unit, it's parents or parents-in-law or siblings of mum or dad that have very strong opinions and think that they know better than your medical team or what you think as a parent. And that's really hard. I'm really thankful that for the most part we have not experienced that. But I would say that something we have experienced and we have talked about on this channel before is people saying, well, they'll eat when they're hungry enough. They'll eat when they're ready. You don't need a tube. You just starve them and they'll eat. There are medical reasons why some of these kids, including Ezra,
Mm.
don't swallow or don't put food in their mouth or can't do these things. They may not have the skills. They may be aspirating. There's a magnitude of reasons why. And as you said, to your point around patience and kindness to yourself, these things take time, unfortunately, to be able to diagnose and then treat. And then they have to relearn or possibly learn these skills from the beginning. So whilst we love our extended families very, very much, I think it's really important particularly as the medical parent, whoever that is in your dynamic, is to be able to be strong enough to say, I respect what you're saying, but that is not the case for my child. I have spent all this time going through many, many things, and my medical team feel that being tube fed is the best option for my child to help them to grow. It's not just about physical growth, it's brain development, it's emotional development. There is lots of reasons why humans need nutrients in their bodies, and our tubies are no different. So don't let people put negative thoughts in your head that you're doing the wrong thing. If your medical team say that this is the right thing for your kid, trust them, believe them. And like Eliana said, it could be short term. It may be only a few weeks or a few months that you have a tube goes and you just move on with life. For others, like our boys, it's a much longer journey. And that's okay. And people just need to realize different plumbing. We're just fed a different way, right? Like it doesn't need to be this big thing. It's can just be normalized if people would allow it to be. Just go with it and see what happens, because there is light at the end of the tunnel. It just looks different for everybody. That's all.
Absolutely.
That would be the only thing I would add to your 3 amazing suggestions, which are great. Juggling all of these, routines, which obviously you've well and truly got down pat now. I do feel like for us on the weekend when things are less structured, because obviously during the week you've got your school drop off routine for siblings and for the boys, and then they've got their appointments and things like that. But on the weekend we all kind of relax, go and do fun things, and we visit family or we go to the beach. Now the weather's nice and warm, all of those kinds of things. How do you juggle that change in weekday routine to weekend routine, but still keep Luke on track with all of his feeds? Because your surroundings potentially changing too, right? How does that work?
Yeah, look, we still just follow the same routine.
Mm-hmm.
And if we go out, the feeding stuff just comes with us and we just get on with it. Um, One that I have to negotiate with him because he's not a little baby anymore where you can just hook him up and they don't have a say in it. He's
Mm-hmm.
4. If he doesn't want
Yeah.
to, I'm not going to force him.
Yeah.
I will negotiate with him and say, look, you really need to have your feed. We either have it here, we have it in the car, or we have it where we get to where we're going. And then he will choose. I'm flexible with the timings. I'm not going to sit there
Mm-hmm.
and force him and then have it blow up into this huge tantrum where he's upset, I'm upset. And I don't like feeling like I'm forcing him to have a feed
Yeah.
either.
Yeah.
So that's one way that we work around it. Whenever I leave the house, I always make sure I have enough of his feeds for while we're out. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, depending if we're having a really big day, I'll pack an extra. I'll put like a wholesome blends in my bag just as an
Mm-hmm.
emergency, just in case we do decide to stay out and I don't want to get caught. It just comes with us. We just
Yeah.
pause and just hook it. It's annoying. It's really annoying.
Let's call it what it is, people.
I'll be honest, it's annoying. I have to take so much extra stuff with me. And, he's in the middle of stuff. He's busy. Sometimes we're busy. I can't be bothered. I don't want to pull over at the side of the park and flush the line into the bush or whatever it is I've got to
Yeah.
do.
Yep.
But it has to be done. So we
Yeah.
just do it. We
Yeah.
just pick it up and do it and we get on with it.
Yeah. Roll with it. You
We
just
do.
got to roll with it sometimes.
Yeah.
Is there anything you found along the way that you're like, this just didn't work? This just did not happen? Or do you find on most instances, everything's been quite easy as far as feeds have been concerned?
Yeah. Yeah. I do feel like it's generally pretty smooth sailing. I really like our setup.
Yeah.
The way that I've changed it from how we were in the very beginning works. It's easy. I like it like that. Like in the beginning, for example, we had, and this is the very newborn days, we were sent home with the big kangaroo pump, the ones that they use.
Yeah.
And then my friend who I met online was like, get rid of that. You need the immunity pump. And I was like, what is magic? And one, and it was tiny, it was light. I was like, this is amazing. And then I had the bottle in the drip chamber with that. Oh, I can't stand that. It kept popping off and it was a pain. You had to hang it. And she said,
Mhm.
get the reusable pouches. So we switched to those. And I just find that so much easier.
Yeah.
So we trialed and errored a few different things, but I think once we found what was the easiest way, we just kind
Mhm.
of continued on with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's about finding works for you. Um,
Yes.
and what you are comfortable with setting up feeds, and especially while you're out, because sometimes you don't have the space to set up. It's like where do you go? I've got to mix this, I've got to mix that, and but it's just about finding what is easy for you.
Yeah, I agree. And I think trial and error is a
Mm,
good one. You just give it a go. If it works, great. Carry on. If it doesn't work, oh well, we gave it a shot. Move on to the next thing. Even in the short time, I think it's relatively short time that we've been feeding Ezra, things have changed in that, even in that time, ways of doing things and adapting things. There are wonderful people out there who are looking at ways to feed easier, faster,
mm,
better ways of doing things. There's definitely good and bad ways to do anything, I suppose, but that's no different with our Tubie kids either.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Um, what about what advice would you give to a parent who is feeling really overwhelmed? I can't even leave the house. It's just too hard. What would you say?
That's a really hard question to answer.
It's hard because I'm sitting here saying it thinking, I remember being there.
Yeah, and it's hard as well because I speak from my experience with Luke, And like we were saying before, you can have a feeding tube for so many different reasons. So there are families who have a child with a feeding tube and then also a whole heap of other equipment too,
Yeah. Yeah.
whole other situations as well. So I find this one tricky, and I don't like to give the wrong advice and be like, well, just go and just do it this way and you like that, because your life is going to be completely different to my life and your child is different to my child and the stages that we're at and the rest of our lives as well. How many other children have you got? Have you got other children? It's really hard, but I do understand how it can feel really overwhelming. It's easy to sit here and say, just do it. Just do just get up, get your stuff, get out the door and do it, because it's not that easy, like I said. And look, I think my best blanket advice for everyone with different situations is just be kind to yourself, take the pressure off. If you're struggling to get out at all, just little baby steps. Start off small. Like I said as well before, find what works for you. Just because you've been handed a particular pump or handed a particular way to do it doesn't mean that that's the only way to do it. And if you
Mhm.
don't like it, try some other ways to feed and
Yeah.
find what you're really, really comfortable and confident in as well. Confident is a big one too. Um, Once you're confident at home, you're going to be more confident outside as well, taking them out and doing things. If it's easier and you're more comfortable, it's going to be easier to get out. But take it day by day. Be kind to yourself, little steps. You can get there. I look back
Yes.
now, 4 years ago when we first had Luke, I was like, what is life actually going to look like? Posted a reel the other day. I was super excited about, I had the best day with my kids. We went out, we went to the gym, we went to therapy, and then we went the afternoon at the beach, and I just had so much fun. It was relaxed because I'm just trying to take the mindset lately of just stepping back and just bringing a little bit more peace and relaxation,
Yeah.
mental relaxation, I
Yes.
should say,
Yes.
into my life. And I was like, you know
Yeah.
what? For hours, I'm taking a step back. We're going to just enjoy it. And really did. Feeding tube or not, it came along. We got on with it. We had so much fun. But 4 years ago, I
Mm.
thought that that's what our life would have looked like.
No, and you probably wouldn't have been able to think that you would have gotten to a place where you would have just hopped in the car, taken with you what you need, and off you went to carry on the normal things you would have done with or without the tube. I can remember being in that position thinking our whole life was totally turned upside down. It was just never going to be the same again, which I think there were definitely parts,
Yeah,
of life
absolutely. Yeah.
that do have that aspect now. But there's a whole lot that doesn't change. I do tend to think as well, when people are starting on their journey, and like you said, there could be a whole lot of other medical reasons going on and all those kinds of things. I tend to think of Ezra like he's still a newborn. He has to be fed on a schedule like a newborn. He has to be looked after like a newborn. They do have that extra sense of needing to be cared for on a different level. But I still took my kids out when they were babies. You do end up going back to the shops, and you do go to the beach, and you do go to the park, and you do all those things that you did. You go out to dinner, you go out to lunch, you meet with your friends, all of those kinds of things. And you have to take a nappy bag full of stuff because you've got a baby.
Yeah.
I do the same thing with Ezra.
Yeah.
I had to take a bag full of stuff just in case of any scenario. It's all there.
Yeah.
And lots of people graduate from baby bags. Unfortunately for us, we don't graduate from that. We've got it all in a backpack. We just carry everything in a backpack with us. But that's normal for
Yeah.
us. I think the acceptance, we have to accept that as well and go, well, we just have to travel with those things all the time because what if?
Yeah.
And those sort of scenarios, I mean, look, what happened to you with the button on the aeroplane? I
Yeah.
always think of that story. Like, for anyone that doesn't know, I'll let Eliana tell you what happened. Like, if that's not a scenario of being prepared, I don't know what is.
Well, yeah, that's the thing too. I think if you want to get out of the house and want to get out and do things more, you've got to take all the stuff with you, and you have to be
100%.
prepared. After Luke got his G tube, we finally felt comfortable enough to be able to travel with him, and a lot of his medical conditions had settled down. He wasn't as complex as he used to be, so we were comfortable to do that. We were over traveling in America at the time. We were going in between 2 stops, and it was only a short flight, but I was feeding him a blend, and he was wriggling around, and just pop, out came the button. I was like, "Awesome." What but was
1,000 feet in the air.
honestly, like, of all the times for it to happen.
Kind of a cool story for his 18th though, like,
Oh
it's
my
pretty
gosh, I
cool.
know. I know. When we travel, I have a carry-on, all of his medical supplies are in there, so I had a spare button. I just had to reach up to the little cabbage spot. C
Yep.
Did I say cabbage
The
spot?
overhead bin, cabbage.
The over
Well, you could
yeah.
put cabbage in there if you want to. I don't think they'll let you fly with that.
Oh my gosh, I was thinking of cabin and luggage, and it's
Yeah, I knew
cabbage.
what you meant. I was just gonna roll with it.
Oh my gosh. I had it all up there with me, so I literally just whipped out the box and changed his button up in the sky.
What a cool story. So if that's not a thing of, like, be prepared, I don't know what is.
Imagine if I what if I couldn't have got it in, or what would I have done up there? And my biggest fear is when that tube comes out, if you don't get or something in there to keep
Yes,
it open quick enough,
yes.
it's gonna close and then you're back to surgery. That's one of my biggest anxieties about his tube. Because we just went to Europe not that long ago. The planes we went on there were really small, and they're like, "Oh, no, that up in the, carry-on." And I was like, "Whoa." I was like, "Okay, just give me a sec." And I literally took the box with the new button. I sort of tucked it under my arm. I'm like, "This one comes with me."
Yeah,
It was only like
this
an hour
is
flight.
coming.
I'm not you can take the other things if you promise that it's just going in under that little spot there, but the button's with me.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Yes, the button must come. When Ezra went for surgery, I said to he was having gastro surgery, so I thought makes sense to take the button anyway. He was very impressed that I took it with me. He was like, "No one brings spare buttons. They just expect that we're going to have them." I was like, "Oh no. I never expect anyone's going to have anything. Never." So and same thing, he had to have a pre-med and they were like,
Yeah.
"We can't give it." And I was like, "Don't worry, I've got the tube. Here are the syringes." They were like, "My gosh, you are the best." And I was like, "This is not my first rodeo."
Your experience. I know, it's funny, it's like when you
Yes.
walk into the hospital and they see you with your big folder, or they start talking to
Yeah.
you and then they make comments to each other and go, "Oh, she's sensible." They've said to me.
She's done this before. We've been here around
Yeah,
the block a
I'm
few times. And this is the
expecting
kind of knowledge that, we need to share with people. So when you do have to go to hospital because the NG tubes come out and you don't know how to put it back in, you've got the information to say, well, this is the type of NG tube we had in before and this is what we did. And even if you're not putting it back in, it's good to have all that information. Once upon a time, we used to just travel with the blue book. Gone are
yeah.
those days.
I never even used the blue book with Luke.
What's a blue book? Silly. For anyone who doesn't live in New South Wales, it's our medical book that we get with kids when they're born. So I know that around the world it's called different things, but effectively it's just a book that has all the vaccinations in it, all the milestones in it, and generally if there's any little notes that they need to tell you about, something that's happened with your up to 5-year-old, it runs till they're 5 generally. For us, you just mature past that point where you don't need it. You need something way bigger, way, way bigger. I'm with you.
That's love though, don't you?
You do. And if you don't, you will cry. Like you really will. And some days we cry too. Don't get me wrong. Some days we still cry. Went into surgery with Ezra and felt so optimistic that they would find something and then spoke to the surgeon after and he said, everything looks normal. We've taken some biopsies anyway, but I think everything's fine. And of course, we want everything to be fine, but that doesn't get us any closer to an answer.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a letdown, and I felt really dejected. I think is probably a good word. There are ups and there are downs. I never thought there would be a day where I would be disappointed by the fact that they didn't find something. Like
We were
what?
the exact same with Luke. When in newborn days, his first scope, they told us during it, they're like, "We found something and we think that we can operate." And I was like, "Oh my goodness,
Thank
this
goodness.
like it can be fixed."
Mhm.
Found out it wasn't. And they continued, but it was that hope of, have they found something? They found it there. Can they fix it? And it will all be dusted. I get it.
Not having a diagnosis is really hard and something that I've really had to get used to being comfortable with is just that constant state of unknown. And the only time that it really bothers me is when people ask, like, what's wrong with him? And I don't I don't have a clear answer. I can explain, but it takes time. It's not like, oh, he has this condition or he has this diagnosis. I don't have anything. And that makes it really hard. It's also getting harder with him because he understands more now.
Mm.
And he's like, what's wrong with me? I don't have an answer for you. Nothing. You're perfect just the way you are. You just get fed differently. You have to give them a story that kind of is true, but at the same time, it's like not the whole picture.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what do? I can't give him something that he doesn't have. And that's the only thing I find that I struggle with, and have to kind of remember to keep myself in check and go, you know what? It's not the be all and end all. And they could still give me a diagnosis and it may change nothing.
Yeah.
So then what difference does that make? None. Okay, let's just carry on, keep doing what we're doing. But because of that unknown, it just leads to more and more investigation because they want to keep searching, which I want too, but it doesn't really, we're just not getting any answers. So
Yeah.
who knows? The journey is long, as you have pointed out. Like it goes on. It is what it is.
Yeah. It does.
And that's okay too, and we just keep putting one foot in front of the other. There are new treatments coming out every day for lots of kids who have got tubes for lots of different reasons. And that's great. It's so great.
That's one of the questions whenever we meet people or they talk to me about Luke. That's one of the first things they ask me is how long does he have to have his tube for? I have no idea. I don't know.
As long as he needs it.
Yeah, exactly. And there is no answer. Try not to think about that either. Like I have no idea. We're already 4 and a bit years in.
It's so normal now, though. Like, I think it's
Yeah.
just so normal, part of Ezra's life, part of Luke's life. It's just normal. I don't think about it as anything different anymore. I don't notice people looking at us. But it's interesting because when we're with other people, they will say, do you know people are watching you? And I'm like, no. Never noticed it because I don't notice that anymore. I remember it in the early days being very self-conscious and afraid for him that people were staring or judging. Now I wouldn't have a clue and he doesn't care. So I'm very much led by him.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. I feel we were the same. When Luke NG, it was like it was literally plastered all over his face.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So
It's right there. There's no hiding it.
no, but the thing is as well that I've had a lot of conversations about with NGs, people associate them with sickness. A lot of times I would have this little baby and I would get so many sympathetic looks and
I know.
is he okay? Then, you'd take him to the playground and the other kids, like innocent, they don't know, they're curious. They'll come up and right in his face and they're staring. It's like, hey, let's give him a little
back up a little bit. Yeah.
Luke, luckily, was very young and it was just he didn't. But now he's got his G-tube. A lot of the kids at daycare, I don't think even know that he has one.
No.
Some of them, they do because they're a little bit more switched on and they pay attention when he's being fed. I don't think it bothers Luke. I'm kind of preparing myself for that for when he gets a bit older. I feel like it's going to be coming soon. It was, hey, I'm different because,
Yeah.
well, I don't want to be different. He did make a once. He said he got upset and he goes, it's not fair that Leah doesn't have a tube and I do. I was like, oh no, here we are. We're going down this path. But he hasn't said that for a little while. I do feel like it's going to start heading that way, especially before he starts school. So that's something that I really want to try and work on with him is building his self-confidence. This is why you have this and it's not a bad thing and it's just who you are. And
It's just part of you. Ezra's quite protective over his button. He loves showing people. He's very proud of it. I think it's really interesting that all of us now, like my best friend recently had a baby earlier in the year, my godson, and I pick him up and I'm always cautious of the button. And then I'm like, he doesn't have a button. Like,
no,
I'm just of kids having a G tube, and I'm like, oh no, he doesn't have one. What are you doing? Like, but my brain associates a small child as having a G tube. It's amazing how quickly your brain adapts. Like, it's nuts.
the same with Luke. And that was one thing as a new mum to Luke that really upset me is you go to pick and cuddle them, but it's like, okay, pick them up. Where's the tube? Where do I put my hand? Other people pick them up and you just snuggle them and you cuddle them, but it's like, I've got to pick you up and carefully position you this way and position you that way. And the same with like I rub his belly, and then I'll muck around with my nephew who he hasn't got a tube. And I'm like, oh, a
Yeah.
belly.
Yeah.
What an odd
It's
thing.
weird, right? Like it's lovely, but it's
Yeah.
your brain is so used to it that you're like, hang on. So I always laugh with my best friend. We always laugh about it. And I'm like, I keep thinking he's got a G tube. And she's just like, we'll have to get one like painted onto him. And I'm like, oh, that's such a good idea. That'd be so cute. Like a little photo when he's a bit bigger and we can paint it on and they can both lift up their shirts and stuff. I'm like, that'd be so cute. Or we can stick an old one on him and like stick it on with some sticky tape or something.
But yeah.
I'm like, that's so cute. Like, I think a great way to end our episode would be just to say to people that look at us laughing about it. Look at us talking about how not just our kids, but we have adapted to this huge shift in our worlds and this massive change. And here we are just carrying on like it's no big deal anymore. And for anyone who's starting out or, are deep in the trenches thinking, I just can't do this, you can and you will, and you've got this. You're going to get through it. And there is resources out there. Reach out if you have any questions. We're here. We've done it. Eliana's been doing it longer than me. She's got loads and loads of experience. And you just want a friendly ear to listen to. We get it. We do get it. And we empathize and sympathize with your situation. And coming into Christmas, obviously now only a few days away, that can look different for our tubies as well. And we talked off air before we started recording about the boys sort of moving themselves away around food and stuff like that when they're not comfortable. But the benefit of Christmas Day is that it's busy anyway, right? For a lot of us, it's a busy day and kids are getting toys and there's lots of stuff going on. So they're distracted and food isn't really always priority for kids at that time of year. And for our tubies, that's good because they might not be comfortable or they may feel overwhelmed with all the food around them and people eating and whatnot. This gives them an opportunity to be able to just go and hang out with their toys or go and play with their cousins or whatever's going on in their world. I think that's great. Don't you, Eliana?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember back to Christmas, I didn't care about the food.
Me
I
either.
just wanted to open the presents and play with the toys, and that's fun for my kids. Leah's not interested on the day. Like, I'll have to like chase her and be like, "Come on, please just eat something."
You need to eat something.
But like, it's Christmas. It's such an exciting day. There's so much in the lead up to Christmas as
Yes.
well for a
Yeah.
child. It's really actually quite overwhelming. You build up from all the celebrations in the lead up, and then you finally have this big day. Just let them have fun.
I agree.
Just let them have and let you have fun too. We're always putting pressure on ourselves because as parents, our job to nourish our kids and feed our kids. But just one day, just take a little step back. Let them
Let
have
it be.
enjoy Christmas for how they enjoy Christmas. Because I know a lot of people enjoy Christmas because of the big Christmas lunch or however different families do it.
Yeah.
But sometimes for people that is the thing. Whereas for others, it's not. So just enjoy the one special day for Christmas.
Yeah, I agree. On that note, thank you for joining us again. And thank you for wrapping up 2025. What a year it's been for Beyond the Tube. And you've been there right from the beginning. And I can't thank you enough. Like, your support has been amazing. And to everyone out there, Merry Christmas. Hope you all have a wonderful festive season. However you celebrate, be kind to yourself and be kind to one another. Until 2026, stay safe and we'll see you soon.